All right, welcome to the deep dive. You know how this works. We take a look at your sources, articles, research, maybe you've got a book that's just super interesting, and we pull out the good stuff, the stuff that actually matters, just for you.
That's it. We get to the heart of things,
Mhm.
figuring out what's truly important without you having to wade through all the details yourself.
Absolutely. And today, well, today we're diving into something we all deal with time, how it affects, what we're capable of, how well we perform, and our guide. We've got Daniel H. Pink's When. We've got some really fascinating excerpts from this book. I think you're going to like this.
This deep dive, I think you're going to find this really useful. We're talking about hidden patterns in your day-to-day energy. We'll look at when's the best time to tackle different kinds of tasks and how to use beginnings, midpoints, even endings to really boost your effectiveness.
And we want this to be actionable. We don't want to just throw information at you. We want you to walk away from this and be able to actually, use this stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's jump in. This book, When, it starts off by highlighting something that's kind of fundamental, but you might not really realize it. And that's that, your brain power, it's not a constant. It's not like you're operating at the same level, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep.
Exactly. There's this hidden rhythm to your day, and it impacts how well you think, how creative you are, even your decisions. And the interesting thing is, this isn't just some feeling or, some kind of anecdotal thing. There's data on this.
Yeah, Pink actually talks about a study of Twitter data, and they found that positive emotions, feeling active, engaged, hopeful, they tend to kind of peak in the morning. Then they kind of dip down in the afternoon, and then there's a little bit of a rebound in the evening. So it's like your mood itself has a cycle.
It does.
But
Absolutely.
it's not just, feeling a little tired, is it? There's a study mentioned in the book about corporate executives.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And this is what they found when they're communicating with investors, making big decisions earlier in the day is definitely better for clarity, for good judgment.
Yeah. And actually, scientists who study this,
Hmm.
how time of day affects our brains, they've come to some pretty clear conclusions. And I think these are really relevant to everyone listening. First, you're not static.
Right?
Your cognitive abilities, they change throughout the day. You're literally sharper at some points than others.
And this isn't just, a small shift in focus.
No, no, no.
One neuroscientist even said, and this is pretty crazy, that the difference between your peak performance and your low point could be the same as being legally drunk.
It's a big difference.
So that afternoon slump, that's a big deal.
It is. It is. And the third conclusion, this one's really important. There's no, best time for every task.
Hmm.
It actually depends on the task itself.
So you've got to think about what you're doing as well as when you're doing it. Now, here's where things get a little counterintuitive. This thing called the inspiration paradox. It says that you're actually at your most innovative when you're not at peak mental sharpness. Explain that. How does that work?
It does seem strange, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is when you're not, super sharp, your mind's a little more open.
Yeah, okay.
It's less constrained, less critical.
Yeah.
You're more likely to make unusual connections, come up with something truly new. It's kind of like your brain's more playful when it's not, on high alert.
I can see that. It's those moments when an idea just kind of pops into your head.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So the book lays out this typical daily pattern. Most of us have this peak in the morning, good for that focused work, then the afternoon dip, then a rebound in the evening, which is better for, insight, creative stuff.
Precisely. But here's the thing. Not everyone's the same. You've got your third birds.
Right.
This is most people, actually, about 60 to 80%.
Mhm.
They're not extreme early birds, not night owls. They're somewhere in between.
And there's even a link between when you're born and whether you're a morning or evening person.
There is. There is. Fall and winter babies, they tend to be more like larks, the early birds.
Yeah.
Spring and summer babies, they're more often owls.
Interesting.
It is. Now, for those insight problems, those moments when you need that creative spark, there's something called the synchrony effect. Basically, align your type, lark, owl, whatever. Align that with the task and the time of day.
So you've got to know yourself, right?
You do.
Most of us, it's that peak, trough, rebound pattern. But for the night owls, it's almost flipped. It's like recovery, then the trough, then the peak.
Exactly. And the book's got some great tips for those mornings, especially for, the majority who are peak, trough, rebound. Simple things like drink water first thing, maybe delay that coffee a little bit, get some sunlight,
Yeah.
and try scheduling those really focused tasks like planning or problem solving for the morning
Mhm.
when you're more likely to be, receptive and sharp.
So we've talked about mornings. Now, what about that dreaded afternoon slump? The book has this whole chapter called Afternoons and Coffee Spoons, which I have to say sounds promising.
Right.
So let's get into it.
Let's do it. And it really gets into breaks, how important they are. There's this fascinating study about judges. They were more lenient in the morning when they were probably at their peak, but in the afternoon, they were tougher.
Wow.
It shows you that afternoon dip can really affect your judgment.
Yeah, that's a powerful example. So what's the solution? What do we do about this? More coffee.
Not necessarily the best long-term strategy. The book talks about 5 things, 5 guiding principles for good breaks. And the key is anything's better than nothing. They say high performers, they often work in these bursts of like 52 minutes, then take a 17-minute break.
Really? That's so specific.
It is, but it makes the point. Regular breaks, even short ones, are so important. And another principle, moving is better than sitting. Just 5-minute walks every hour can make a difference. More energy, better focus, even your mood improves.
Okay, that's easy enough. What else?
Social is better than solo. Talking to your coworkers about non-work stuff actually reduces stress more than just, zoning out with emails or whatever.
Interesting.
Then, outside is better than inside. Those walks. Even more restorative if you're outside. And finally, fully detached is better than semi-detached. So, put the phone away. A tech-free break is best for recharging.
Give your brain a chance to reset.
Exactly.
The book talks about lunch breaks too, right?
It does. It says, autonomy is important. Have some control over what you eat, how you spend your time, and detach from work. And here's a surprising one. They argue that lunch, not breakfast, is the most important meal for your afternoon performance,
Really? That's interesting. What about naps? Is that a good strategy?
No, absolutely. Best naps are 10 to 20 minutes. Enough to boost you, but not make you groggy. And here's the advice. Schedule them in. Put them in your calendar. And another tip, the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. Great for eye strain. And even 60-second stand and stretch breaks can make a difference.
So be intentional about those pauses. And, it's interesting, even top performers, they take those afternoon breaks, even naps. It's not about pushing through all the time.
No, it's not. Breaks are key to being productive, long-term. Now let's talk about beginnings.
Okay.
They have a bigger impact than we realize on our projects, our goals. And Pink talks about 3 principles. Start right, start again, and start together.
Start together. That sounds important for teams.
Absolutely.
There's this thing called a pre-mortem that's mentioned in the book. Tell me about that.
Like a great technique. Before your project starts, imagine it's 18 months in the future and it's a total disaster. Then everyone brainstorms what went wrong.
Okay.
It's like reverse engineering failure.
So you can prevent it. Smart.
It is. Now, start again. That's about leveraging fresh starts. And get this, the book lists 86 fresh start days.
86. There's that many.
That many. It's not just, the first of the month or Mondays. It's things like the first day of spring, your birthday, even that day you finish this book. It's about using these moments to start something new, to initiate a change.
So you're not just limited to New Year's resolutions, for example.
Exactly.
All right. The book also talks about going first, strategically. Sometimes it's good, sometimes not.
Exactly. If you're on a ballot, if you want to make a strong impression, if there aren't many competitors, or in a tough job interview, going first can be good. It's the primacy effect. People remember the first thing better.
But there are times when you should hold back, right?
Right. If you're already the default choice, no need to rush. If there's a lot of competition, going later can be better, especially last. You stand out more. In uncertain situations, let others go first. You get more information. And if the competition's weak, going later makes you look stronger by comparison.
And for those starting a new job, the book has some good advice. Begin before you begin, meaning do the mental prep, the visualizing. Let your early results do the talking. Stockpile motivation beforehand. And sustain your morale with small wins.
Yeah, it's about creating that momentum from the start.
Okay, so what about the middle? The messy middle part of a project, or even just a stage in life. The book has a chapter on this, midpoints. It mentions Hanukkah candles and midlife malaise. I'm intrigued. Tell me about this.
So happiness levels, they often dip for people in their late 30s, early 40s. But they tend to recover and actually even surpass earlier levels later on.
Well, that's good to hear.
Right. It's a common thing. Now, the Hanukkah candles thing, it's about recognizing midpoints. These are key moments for, reevaluation, getting your motivation back. There was a study about sports teams, the ones slightly behind at halftime. They're actually more likely to win.
Really?
Yeah. Knowing they were behind seemed to give them that extra push. And it can be the same for your projects.
So use that midpoint as a wake-up call, not a time to coast.
Exactly. Be aware of it. Use it to re-engage with your goals. And try this mental trick. Imagine you're a little behind schedule. It can really get you going again. And another tip, picture one person who will directly benefit from your work.
Ah, that's a good one. That personal connection can be really motivating. Okay, so we've done beginnings, midpoints, now endings. The book says endings shape our behavior in 4 ways.
They do. Endings energize us, they help us encode memories, they make us edit our perceptions, and they elevate the significance of an experience.
The book gives a great example about marathon runners.
Oh, yeah.
People are much more likely to run their first marathon at 49 than at 50. It's that, deadline effect.
Yeah. It's about closing that gap, achieving the goal before time runs out. And there's this principle called the peak end rule. We remember things based on the most intense moment and how it ends. We kind of forget about the rest.
So a strong ending can really change how you remember something.
It can. And there's this thing called end-of-life bias. We tend to believe someone's true self comes out at the very end, even if it's sudden.
We give a lot of weight to those final moments.
We do. And it's interesting, adding a touch of sadness to a happy moment can actually make it more meaningful.
Yeah.
The best endings, they're not always just happy. They give you insight, a sense of transcendence, something unexpected. And for those thinking about a job change, the book has some really good questions to ask yourself. Do you want to be in the same role next year? Does your job challenge you, give you autonomy? Is your work aligned with your long-term goals?
Those are great questions to think about.
They are. It's about being intentional, about endings in your projects, your job, even just ending your day.
All right. Lastly, the book talks about cinching fast and slow. This is about group settings.
It is.
Yeah.
It says for teams to work well, you need to sync on 3 levels. First, sync to the boss. Have a clear leader, standards, someone setting the pace. Second, sync to the tribe. Build that sense of belonging, shared identity. And third, sync to the heart. Cultivate positive emotions, pro-social behavior.
It's like creating this well-oiled machine where everyone's not just working together, they're connected on a deeper level.
Exactly. And the last chapter, Thinking in Tenses, it says, when you feel more connected to your future self, you plan better. You're more responsible in the present.
So it all comes back to time and how we perceive it.
It does.
All right. To wrap this up, we've learned some fascinating things from when. Our days have rhythms, beginnings and endings matter more than we think, and those midpoints, those are key.
Yeah. And knowing this stuff can make a difference. Being aware of your peak times, taking breaks, starting things right, pushing through those midpoints, ending things well, it all adds up. Better productivity, more well-being, more satisfaction in your work and life.
So for you listening, think about just one thing in your life or your work that you could tweak based on what we've talked about. What small change could you make? And what impact could that have over time? Experiment, play around with your timing, see what works for you. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.